Welcome to the Megillas podcast, where we interview those that entertained us in our childhood.
That is evil.
All right, we are here with the legendary Adam Levinthal. You might know him from Megillas as Haman and other voices, but he's also a very big, accomplished actor. Welcome to the Megillas podcast, Adam Levinthal. How are you doing?
Good. What a lovely introduction. Yeah, doing well. Honored to be here.
Right off the bat, you don't give me any Haman vibes.
Yeah, it's fair.
So let's start with a little bit of your background, like where you come from, your childhood, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm from Lower Merion, so just outside of Philadelphia. I went to Schechter. I went to Jewish private school my whole life, for the most part, and really loved it. I have two loving parents. I have an older brother. Love sports, and I've always loved theater. And yeah, I'd say the theater bug bit me. I was like 7, and I thought that looks really fun. Was the first thought, and the second thought was I could do that. I think, and started taking classes and working in the theater, and went to college for theater and pursued it. Yeah.
What do you think it was for you personally when you were younger that made you get attached to the idea of doing acting and theater?
I would love to say something sort of poetic. I mean, I think I just liked attention, and it's a room
Fair.
full of people staring at me. I like maybe making people laugh and this and that. But I liked the attention. It was fun. It was just like a game. It's like, why do I like shooting a basketball? It's just like fun. Part of what makes it fun is connecting with like-minded people and making people feel some type of way, whether it's elation or getting them to think about certain situations differently. It just it's a blast.
So you're saying how you like the connection or trying to bring up topics in the acting. Is that in the philosophies that you bring into acting? Is that the emotion? Like what do you think for you personally, what aspect of connection through acting is what you attract you most?
I think for me, I mean, it's a community. It's a little village, So it's the lighting designers have their job, and it has nothing to do with what I'm doing, but it has everything to do with what I'm doing, and the stage manager who's sort of calling the shots, and we're all cogs in this wheel to serve this purpose of telling a story, and to be a part of that is humbling, and it is this instant. It feels like an instant family a lot of the time.
So it's
We're sort
really
of
the
dependent.
it's really the filmmaking process is what attracts you to it, you're saying?
Yeah, well, honestly, I'm speaking more towards theater. Like I've done more theater than
Yeah.
film, but absolutely, I can imagine. Yeah, it's the same in film. Sure.
And is that so? Is the theater aspect is because you get that immediate reaction from the audience? I would assume is what attracts you the most.
Yeah, I mean, in my limited, you know, engagement with TV shows or film, I, you're sort of doing your own thing in your trailer, and then you're on set, and then you're away, and the hours are crazy. Theater, you have a 9 to 5 like rehearsal schedule, and so you might eat lunch together, and there's camaraderie, and you're building something, you're rehearsing something.
Yeah.
Film, at least the film that I've done, very minimal rehearsal. You don't feel like I never. Well, Megillas is different. That did feel like a family.
Yeah.
I'm not really when I'm talking about the connectivity in film, that's an outlier in my experience. That did feel like, I mean, I feel like they were baking. I feel like I ate Hamantashes.
Yeah.
It was this really fun family environment. But generally speaking, that is not my experience with film. And I've really, aside from Megillas, I've only really had that for the most part in theater.
So it could be my assumption, but it sounds like it's the organic way of doing it, right? Like as opposed to when it's film, it's all technical. And then when you're in theater, you kind of have the person on the spot, you have the audience reacting. It's very organic.
It's a good point you make, and this is more so from hearing from friends. I mean, again, I really haven't done that much film, But my understanding of film a lot of the times, particularly depending on the director, is the actor is a prop. I mean, it's like, we're
Yeah.
focused on the lighting, and the light's going to come from there, and then there's going to be a big explosion there, and blah blah blah. And the color is going to do this, and it's like, oh yeah, but the actor, yeah, do your job. You're the actor. Versus, I feel like theater, and this goes to my like self-absorbed, but it's more about the actor. Like it is. It's more part the human condition. You're just there. I mean, there's a costume, there's lighting, and it's beautiful, but it's more of a focal point of the storytelling. Whereas
Right.
film has so many more elements, which is so amazing and makes film so engaging. But from the one doing it, I find more value, at least so far in my career, doing theater for the most part.
So when I interviewed Andrew, who played Harvona on the
Yeah,
previous
yeah, I know
season,
Andrew. Yeah.
yeah, he said that what he also likes about the theater is that every time you do a play, even though you're doing it 100 times on repeat for different audiences or different theaters, you're going around on tour or whatever it is, like you're doing the same play again and again. But he enjoys it because he likes experimenting and finding new things about whether it's experimenting with the audience or experimenting with the story and the intention of the characters in the play. I'm just wanted to know about your take about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's some actors I've worked with on long stretches of performances where they pretty much do the same performance, and it's an amazing performance, and they just don't change it, and that's fine. Their circumstances haven't really changed. There's not a lot of reason for it to change. I'm more like Andrew, where I get bored,
Yeah.
or I can't speak for Andrew. For me, I get bored if I'm doing the same sort of way. And I'm not doing something different just because I'm bored, but it at least is maybe the first domino to explore, well, how else can this character react to the given circumstances? And if I'm bringing myself to the table, well, I might feel different at 2 p.m. than I would at 8 p.m. And not that I'm phoning it in or I have less energy, but I'm not the same person. And so there's going to be a slight shift in the performance. And it is fun to see. And certainly, like a Friday night audience might be more boisterous than a Tuesday night audience. And it's interesting to experience that and have it feed the performance appropriately.
One thing I didn't really touched on with in this podcast, but I really kind of get that feeling as when I talk or when I research or when I'm doing my own stuff. Filming is more about the visual storytelling, and theater is really reliant on the actors because the audience is not up close to your face as opposed when they're on screen, and they have to really rely on your voice and on your posture and your movement. um so I feel like in film, what you're saying, like when an actor likes to experiment, a lot of that is not necessarily in the dialogue because it's not reliant on the dialogue. So you could experiment with other things like your facial expressions or whatever. In theater, the audience don't really see that. They hear it, they see your figure, your presence, but they don't really
Mm-hmm.
see that in your face. Is there a part of you as a theater actor that kind of wished that there was some aspect in theater that they could see your face up close? Like if you're going something emotional and you're like, I wish the audience could like see my
Ha!
face right now, or
I mean, it's interesting. Like, there's small black boxes, and so that's, I don't know, maybe 90 or less people. I don't know whatever it is technically speaking, and you really might as well be on camera. I mean, it is really intimate. I mean, for the larger stages, um, yeah, it would be fun. I mean, they do like there's some productions these days where maybe there's a house on set and they'll go inside one of the rooms, they'll have cameras and they'll have a screen, and so you can kind of do both of at the same time, and that seems pretty perfect. I've not been in a show like that yet, but absolutely, I would. It's more fun to just feel whatever I'm feeling rather than feel it, but make sure that the person 100 feet away can see. Yeah, there's certainly moments where I would like everyone to just be right in the front row. Yeah.
but I feel like maybe I'm really overthinking about it, but I feel like as an actor in theater, you kind of really have to not over exaggerate, but you really have to pay attention to how much you're putting into your voice because you don't have necessarily the aspect of where you're in front of the person, right? Because you're hearing, you're seeing. So there's a lot of like things you have to like really teach yourself about speech and emotion in speech.
Yeah, and you know, where you're standing is a huge part of that. You know, so if I'm I have a mic right in front of me, but if I'm talking like this, I mean that's if I a lot of people might make the mistake if I'm referencing someone who's up. This would be upstage if you're the audience. Like, hey, so what are you guys doing for dinner? Versus what are you guys doing for dinner? Or like, what are you guys doing for dinner? Like just being strategic about your body placement, and that's right. We're saying the same thing as far as the speech. Yeah, it's you got to be intentional about all of it.
It's really like you got to be like a like expert on communication cues, really.
Yeah, yeah. No, you do. You do.
So I do want to kind of delve into that aspect of theater because um how much of theater preparation of like of not preparation but more um getting ready in the method of acting is there with theater as opposed to if you're doing any film, doesn't matter if you're doing animated or if you're doing live action.
Yeah, I don't think it's very different. I wouldn't think. I mean, I think that if you work on like a great play, um, you have so much information to mine. So I want to kind of know what does every character say about my character. I'm going to write that down. What does my
Yeah.
character say about myself? And write that down. What's my backstory? Well, do other people speak about my backstory? Do I have a backstory? If you're doing like a small part in a movie, you don't have any of that, and you have to create it yourself. So you're still doing the work. It's just like how you're doing the work. At least for me, is different. Um, so whether I'm generating it, if it's a small part in a show, a TV show, or if I have it all in front of me and I just have to mine it. Um, as far as the product, my thing is I don't want to feel like a liar. So I'm playing pretend. That's
Yeah.
all I'm doing. And I don't want to feel like a liar. So what is the work I need to do so I can feel like I'm being honest? And that is the work that I'm doing. And if I'm cast as someone and maybe I just resonate and I just make all these sort of assumptions about who this person is and how they react, maybe that work comes really quickly to me. But I'm not feeling like a liar, and like that's sort of what's important. It's like you have to have where you're coming from, and have that emotion like the moment before, and know what you want in the scene, like what you're going for, and then sort of know. I was taught it's called like the character's spine. But another way of saying it is basically like, who are these people? What is the parameters of this person? How would this person order a bottle of wine? What's like the sandbox in which they play in? What are the rules? And then play within that confined parameters of what is it that Adam would and wouldn't do? And finding that for that character is a big part of that work.
And then also finding that fine line of relaying all that motivation and intention but without dumbing down the audience and saying I would order a bottle of wine like this, that's like who I am.
Right.
Like you have to get to that level where the audience is putting their own perception, but you also have to basically tell the audience what the perception is so that they don't so they can actually connect with the character as much as you connect with the character as the actor.
Right. Yeah. You don't need to spoon feed it. It's real. It's real. We every day we see people and in a coffee shop, in a restaurant, and we might make judgments about them or see how they interact with the wait staff or whoever they're with. They're not like telegraphing that. That's just who they are. So we can trust that we're also just humans engaging in a space, and I don't need to dumb it down, as you say. Like I'll just trust that they'll get it.
But also like you have to basically make it true for the audience so that they get it too.
Oh, right. No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
just being honest. I mean, we're just being people, but on stage in these contrived circumstances. But we're just being people. We're just playing pretend. Yeah.
But also like it's interesting how you touched that was also like the first thing about like my first episode on the podcast that like an actor told me that same thing. You have to make
Huh.
it true for yourself in order
Yeah.
for you to make it true for the audience. Right?
Yes.
You can't just say I'm an actor acting. You have to say you have to tell yourself, what am I doing? Who am as this actor, and not I am this actor done. No, you have to like actually like you have to really be in the truth of the character.
Yeah, and I think one teacher told me once, and I like it. If it says this character cries, um, and you're doing the show 8 times a week, and maybe sometimes you're really bawling, rather than, I mean, look, it's all subjective, but for my
Yeah.
money, rather than, okay, I don't have it in me in this moment to be weeping. What's real for me? Well, maybe I can sort of be reflective or like sit with pain, and I can jog my memory, and I have sort of the thing that I'm referencing. And in that moment, that is the character crying. It does not need to look like this idea we have of crying. It's real in the moment, and that's what it is.
I just
And
saw a
that's
documentary yesterday or today, but basically I forgot the film, but the actor was saying how they were supposed to improv a scene for this film where the
uh-huh.
actor was talking to his father figure, not necessarily his father, but his father figure in the story, and he's supposed to be where there's a scene where the father figure leaves the scene or leaves the place from the act
Mhm.
from this character, and this character tells the father figure what he wanted to tell him without him being there. So like basically like he's just screaming it, like he's bottling it in, and once his father figure leaves the
Yeah,
room, then he comes out with just what he wanted to say, even though
sure.
he's not there in the room. And he said how I was supposed to improv it, there's not a script. So I was like, I had a very rockety relationship with my father, so what would I
Huh.
want to say to my father? And that was his text of the scene. He just
Wow.
went out and just said what he would have said to his father, and
Wow.
it was one of the best scenes in that film because he really drew to that moment.
Wow. That's powerful. Yeah. He's being real.
Yeah,
It's honest. Oh,
but
wow.
and it's being real, and he's being real, and it's really like, lack of a better word, he's not acting in a way. He's
Right,
really
right,
he's
right.
doing the
The
truth.
tricky thing with emotional recall with things that are very present in at least my life that I need to be cognizant of is if it's unresolved in my life and I'm doing, let's say, a show 8 times a week. So a film, it's different. Okay, he does this thing, it's a great take. But if you were to do that 8 times a week, I don't know what that would do to me personally. Like,
Right? Yeah, it
so
would
if
really take a toll on you.
so yeah, but so like for me, I'll pull on things that are real that will strike a chord, but it's not unresolved for me personally. Like between me and my therapist, we're good in that area,
Yeah,
you know, um, and that's how I can come back and be a father and a husband, and because the show's like 3 hours. Well, what happens after that? You got to go back to life. So it's an interesting point, and then at least for me, being mindful of what it is that we're recalling.
yeah.
Um,
That's also interesting because you always hear these actors saying, "I try something from my personal life," but it's interesting you bring up that how far do you go, right? How far down you go with drawing things from personal life. It's
yeah, I
actually
mean, God forbid someone I loved is sick or something, and and I'm in a play where someone's sick. I mean, if someone is actively sick in my life, I mean, I don't know if I could contain that, and it needs
right.
to be contained because there's a play that goes on, and like it's not about Adam's grief; it's about the story.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
it's interesting, and yeah, to each his own, of course.
Um, Another aspect that I love about theater is that sometimes you could do the same play again and again, but then sometimes they'll replace the actors, whether they can't show up for that day, so they'll get another actor to replace it last minute, or you
Sure.
go to another place, and so you go with different actors. Is it difficult for you to go into a play that you've done? Let's say if you were doing it for 10 times, and then the 11th time your scene partner is someone else.
Um, yeah, I mean, is it difficult? It's new, so much like anything that's new, there's maybe anxieties. Is it going to go well? But if it's a strong actor, then it's also really fun because if acting is reacting, well, I have a totally different person to react to, And
Right.
so it's going to change stuff for me. So if I, and I don't want to sort of, well, I'm going to do my performance just like this no matter what. It's like, no, what's going on? So it's fun. You know, it really depends on who the person is,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying for you
But it
personally,
has the potential to be fun. Yeah. And it
yeah.
has the potential to be scary. And it's the potential to be like, oh my gosh, why doesn't this person know their lines? I'm frustrated. It has the potential for really anything. Um,
The same
yeah.
like the same things I'm getting from you from is the same thing from other theater actors in a way that you can't, even though you might be doing the same show, same actors, you can't go into each time of the play just doing the same thing. You have to do it that as if it's a new, almost like a new Nissan life. Like you go through a new
Yeah.
phase in a way.
And it's hard. Like I haven't done that many really long runs, but I am like really remind myself like, hey, like maybe this is the 40th time I've done this, but there's a whole audience full of people that have never seen this story. They paid a lot of money. I'm gonna give it to them. I'm gonna bring it.
Right. Yeah.
I love watching sports, and I would want the athletes to give it their all, even though it's the 80th game of the year. Like, and that's how I feel. They deserve that. But it really takes me to check in and be like psych myself up because it's very easy to sort of okay, I'm doing the thing. I know the beats to hit, and then we're gonna go home. It's like no, that's not why we're doing this. We want to put on a show.
So,
So,
especially like in the Jewish religious community, which is most of the audience that listening to the podcast. But
mhm.
when people say theater, they tend to think about like the arena theater, like those huge theaters. But in real life, theater work could just it could also just be like 30 people in the audience in a very small room. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So my question is it more? I wouldn't say difficult, but is there more? Um, do you automatically or unconsciously put more into the acting aspect, or at least the method of how you go into the actor and telling the story, if it's smaller or bigger? Because technically, the smaller is more intimate than like the bigger one, where like it's like a pile of ants. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, it's a good question. Again, for me, and not that I make it all about me, but I sort of do because it is me doing it. Like I'm like
Well,
I
that's why I'm talking to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like a liar. I don't want to feel like a liar. And whatever I need to do to feel like I'm not lying is the same thing in a small room, in a big room, doesn't matter. I just want to feel like I'm honest and I'm telling the story. So I don't really think, I don't like contort my face when it's like a big house. I'm not like, if I'm angry, I'm not like, I'm just like, my voice I project. So it's more of a volume thing than anything I'm doing with my face, I would say. I mean, maybe I'd be more inclined to sort of do like a hand sort of gesture with my arms to like help with the story that I wouldn't in a more intimate setting. But I'm doing all I can to just feel like an honest person who's
That's
playing
so
pretend.
that's actually really interesting that I didn't even think about. Like the motions have to be grander when you're in theater as opposed to
That's the main switch for me. Yeah, like if I'm like my girlfriend just left me or something, I might like have a this sort of I don't know, but and the director would help with that. But I would not be. I don't do this in my personal life. I don't think I've ever like. I mean, maybe once, but that's not a natural thing for me. If it was a big stage, I might think to do that. I don't
Yeah, like
know
it's
or
like for a smaller audience you might do this, but a bigger audience you might go like this. Right? Like
yeah, yeah. But again, it's like I need to make it real
right,
and
yeah. You can't be too generic.
yeah, yeah. So I really don't do it very differently. I'm just louder. I'm louder in the bigger stage, and they also have like mics though too. So it doesn't even take that
Right.
much more work.
It's also interesting, but I think that's the way to do it. I think that is the way to do it. Meaning, even though you are there for the audience, but when you're telling the story, you kind of have to be in the level of like you have to really be in a mind space of where there is no audience in a way,
Hmm.
right? Because you have to be like, if I'm a guy in prison, there's no one there with me in the prison, or or even if let's say in the play there's a scene where it's in a sports arena. So there's a lot of people there, right? But not the audience, right? Because they're not part of the story.
Right.
But at the same time, you are doing it for the audience. But I think when it comes to the foundation of how you're supposed to act, I think it is both healthy but also just easy if you're just focused on just like being real with the character, being selfish about the character in a way without the audience.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is it's my experience. It's easier to forget that there's an audience. I mean, look, not that I ever forget, but in a big theater, it's pretty black.
Yeah.
You really can't see. Whereas a small, more intimate space, I could see everybody.
Yeah.
So, but no, absolutely, yeah. The fourth wall, as we say, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Have you ever done plays that play with the audience?
If I ever done plays with the audience, I did a lot of sketch comedy, so sort of like short form, where we must have done stuff with the audience. But no like plays where there's certainly plays where you're supposed to pan out to the audience and
Right,
refer
yeah.
to in a monologue or something. Yeah, no, I have. Yeah.
So, how do you approach? I'll tell you. Like, there's a play called Zusman. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it was a Jewish play made by Jewish, like religious Jews. Not necessarily the actors were, but it was written and produced by a magazine, Zman magazine. But anyway, there's one scene that I feel like would have been so difficult. There's basically the story is about the Holocaust, and there's a scene where the German general is giving a press conference, right? So they did something cool where they pretended the audience was the reporters of the press conference. So he's speaking to the audience. Now, a Nazi officer pretending that the Jewish audience is a press conference and he's just spitting in their face about the Jews, right? Like you're talking to the audience, but at the same time you really have to like change your whole perception of the audience while looking at the audience. Like that makes it a whole different level.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. Yeah. Particularly if there are, physical there's people wearing, yarmulkes and this and that. Like, that would be very hard.
Yeah, and you have to basically like keep yourself in that mode. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
So you didn't really have any of not necessarily that extreme, but when you approach monologues, or if you do approach acting where the audience is somehow in the scene. So let's say let me get back to like the sports arena, right? Let's pretend the scene is supposed to be like football players and they're pretending the audience is part of the arena. Is there what would be the balance between focusing on the audience but staying true to the fact that you're in the story itself?
Yeah, so how do I sort of justify talking to the audience? Because a lot of plays ask for it. I
guess you're gonna have to try to find out.
I think I justify it as like in those moments. I want the audience to. What do I want to do? I'm not just like talking. I want them. What's my action? I want them to understand. I want them to get on my side. I want to convince them. Like there's an action behind it, and so I focus on that action. They are part of that action, and that action is for a goal that is embedded in the story. So I'm like using them to catapult me further into getting what I want in the story. I would say.
Does that scare you then if you actually do end up seeing the audience and you have to like?
No. The only thing that would worry me if like I lock eyes with my mom or something.
Oh yeah.
She's like, you're so good. Like that would pull me out of it.
Oh wow.
But if I don't like know anybody, no, because they're just if someone was doing something silly or I don't know, if someone was like asleep, or on their phone, like that would pull me out. But if it's just a stranger watching, that's what they're supposed to do. That wouldn't affect me, I don't think, or it hasn't in the past.
So what's your sweet spot when it comes to tackling characters? Do you like playing characters that essentially captures the audience automatically because let's say they're the protagonist, so the audience is like gonna like them automatically, and then you have to get to the point where the audience is just distraught with your character, or the opposite, where you have to basically convince the audience when you don't have them to a point at the end you have them sympathizing with your character, whether it's a good, bad, morally, or just in general.
Hmm. I mean, they're both would be great opportunities, and I would enjoy them both. But to answer your question, my instinct was to say the latter. That to sort of win them over is sort of fun. I mean, Haman was kind of fun in that way. It's like a
Right,
villain,
yeah.
um,
But Haman
and
would be different if it wasn't like in that cartoonish, happy,
right,
go-getty environment. Like, let's say if there was a perm story, they have to do theater and dark and serious. Like, how do you tackle that character of Haman and get to the audience at
yeah.
that point?
Well, but like something that I was taught that it's helpful is like the bad. No one thinks they're bad, or most people don't think they're bad. So if you're playing with the bad guy, it's like they don't think that. And so if I'm playing Haman, like I'm not, whether there's a cartoon or not, I'm not going around and going like, oh, I'm this evil, terrible person. I'm like, yeah, like I want what I want, and these people are in my way, and like, what's the deal? Like, let's fix it. Like, let's go. So I'm removing the judgment from it. But yeah, that's probably more fun, I would say, if I were to have to pick.
But also, probably like as an actor, it's probably like you feel more accomplished.
Yeah, to sort of win the yeah, it's a cool feeling to go. Okay, people are engaged and they care about what my character's going through. It's a cool feeling. Absolutely.
Every actor tells me a different answer when I ask them this question. Are you the type to change your lines, not fundamentally, but just wording wise, or are you the type to like I really need a script and from there I'll basically act it differently?
So I mean, if you're doing like regional theater or Broadway or off Broadway or like a national tour or like kind of you can't do anything with the. I mean, you are. It is. I mean, I was in a show and I think I like said like and there wasn't an there, and the stage manager met with me after and was like, hey, just to be clear, like you said but there's not an like the right like you don't mess like you don't really have freedom to do that at all. I enjoy improv though. Like I enjoy making stuff up, but I there's not a lot of theater, at least at a certain like level of notoriety, where you're sort of like cool to just like make stuff up. They'd be
Right.
you wouldn't be working very long, I don't think. Yeah, and that's hard, but it's also sort of freeing because it's like okay, these are the bounds, and I'm going to do what I can with these boundaries.
So and that's like the challenge that you kind of enjoy, right? Like you're in this in the boundary like you said, but then it's almost like I forgot who told me this, but it's like a sandbox. There's only so much of the sandbox you have, but you have so much to play with in that
Yeah,
parameter.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's boundaries like are safe, and that's true at least for like me in my personal life, and like kids, right? Like to have parents say like, no, you can't do that. Like it that creates safety, and for the performer, it creates safety. It also instructs what you can and can't do, which it also gives you freedom because you know what you can do.
And also gets your creative mind going. Like, oh, so what can I do?
Yeah,
What can I
yeah,
change?
yeah. I will say in college, I in a rehearsal, I had fun where someone the character said like I was this kind of villain guy. She was like, "You're scaring me," and I was like, "Ooh!" Like I pretended to be a ghost, and like that wasn't in the script, and like we all laughed. It was just in the moment a thing I wanted to do, but like there's no way that the director would be like, yeah, just do the woo thing for when we go and open. Like, no, but it was a little nugget that came out of a rehearsal. And I couldn't resist.
For me as a director, I probably would have kept it in because if you're meant to be the antagonist and she tells you like don't make fun of me or whatever, or you're scaring me, and you go,
Yeah.
ooh, that's like even more disgusting for the
I agree. I
antagonist.
agree. And
Yeah.
look, I'm speaking from my experience, right? But right, certainly there's directors that, like yourself, that would sort of like, okay, we don't need to be so precious with the words. And I'm sure it depends, if you have a new work and the playwright's in the room and maybe they go, oh wow, that's a really good idea. We're gonna change the script. So I don't mean to suggest it's like so like regimented one way or the other, but sort of just in my experience, which isn't like incredibly vast, but like whatever it is, this is what I know to be true. But it's very diverse and right. There's directors of all stripes and there's no wrong. It's just okay. We're telling a story.
Right. That's very true. So let's get to the main topic about Megillas Lester. So before Megillas Lester, though, before we get to that, did you have any voice acting experience or?
Not. I'm trying to think. Before Megillas, no, not really. I mean, maybe like one thing, but like no, I really didn't.
So this was
Um,
really like new territory.
it was, and it was, gosh, like I loved it so much.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it all the time.
So what got you like? How did it start? Like, what was the background for you making the decision? Maybe I'll put my resume for like.
Well, I think
Tell me the whole thing.
look, I don't have a good memory. I want to be clear about that. Michael Bohovsky, who was my dear friend, has a very good memory. And so
By the
he'll be able
way, one of my favorite conversations with him when it comes to filmmaking, like he's really
oh,
knee
he's
deep.
great. He's great.
It was great to talk with him.
He's great. Yeah, we're dear friends. And he, I think, got me the audition.
Nice.
They had trouble casting it, I think, because they wanted him to be scary, but like funny.
Right.
And that was an important balance to strike. And I was like, I could do that. I think I can do that. And then I auditioned. I want to say I was in California at my cousin's wedding. And I remember being in like his hotel bathroom, recording it maybe like on my iPhone or my laptop. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I got it. Yeah. So it was Michael Bohovsky getting in the audition. Um, that note too, I knew ahead of time we wanted to be funny, but not too scary. And they liked what I did.
I think what's great about the voice that you did put for Haman is that there was humor, but it was very subtle, right? Like it wasn't making fun of itself. It was like letting the humor find its place instead of you finding its place for the humor.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I was very cognizant too of like Michael's character and Michael's voice. And I wanted to contrast it like so severely. There's like a slowness to it. There's like a chewing on every consonant thing that it felt like pretty different from a lot of what was going on in the scenes, which I
Right.
think was what I like about it, and I think maybe led to the humor because it's kind of stood out as like, what is this guy doing? Like he's there's something
But
going
there was
on.
like a lot of your voice for it was like very maniacal, but it wasn't like it was like very deep and calm. So how was that process? Because again, this was your first time doing voice acting. So how was that?
It was such a blast. Like as an actor, the only thing I don't like about acting is I get in my head and neurotic about forgetting my lines. And I haven't had like traumatic experiences where I forget my lines outside of dreams I might have. But it's like I could just have them in front of me, and that was a huge deal. And so like it was only the fun part of acting, um, and
So it's like almost like if there's a parameter of like film and voice acting, theater is kind of like in the middle, but more closer to the voice acting. And because there's absolutely no technical restraint at all.
yes, yeah, I was looking like a crazy person, I think. Right. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do what I did. I mean, I would just do it differently. But yeah, I was like contorting and I think, or just, I don't know. But it was so freeing. It was so freeing. It's like, I have the lines, no one's looking at me. How can I tell this story with my voice and only my voice. And that was such a blast. And you could just do it again. And you could do another take.
Yeah,
And we could have
exactly.
fun
Yeah.
and do a lot of different takes. And it was so fun. Um, I will say the thing that stands out to me as far as the humming is, so I grew up, Reconstructionist, conservative. I don't I grew up saying, what would I say? Like Haman, probably,
Haman or
I
Haman.
remember I remember they were like, I was like, okay, because I have to say, I am Haman Hagagi. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, I am Haman. And they're like, no, it's not Haman, it's Haman. I'm like, it's not Haman, it's Haman. I was like, I think you're saying the same thing. Like, they're like, you're saying Haman, but it's Haman. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't. So I just remember like 30 minutes on like, and I'm sure it was probably less than that, but it felt like that because I was like, why can't I get this? Why can't I hear the difference between Haman and Haman? Like I don't. So that was just a trip. That's probably one of my favorite memories from doing it. Um, was having to say my name.
Was there so was there like any other things like kind of like the Easter eggs or like certain subtle lines they put in for you that you kind of like, what does this refer to? And they had to explain it to you and you're like, oh,
Oh
okay,
God,
I get it.
yes, everything, yes.
Everything.
I mean, like I am Haman Hagagi. Like I mean, if there's a line that says like I'm hungry, I wouldn't need them to say like, so what does that mean? It means hungry. But like anything that would relate to the story, pretty much, absolutely. I did not pay attention in Jewish studies to the extent I should have, and I don't want to be a liar. I don't want to just like sort of understand what he's saying. I want to deeply understand what he's saying.
Right.
And so, thank God they were so generous with their wisdom and informed me because I needed to know.
So in that aspect then, was there like a sit down that you like did you do your own research? Did they give you some material or did you just go in blind with the script? Like what was it
I want to
like?
say I leaned on Michael a lot. I mean,
Oh, okay.
that again, I don't have a good memory, but I know myself, and I know that that's something. And Michael is very knowledgeable with Jewish studies and anything that he didn't share, the team shared, so probably behind the scenes, I was asking Michael, and he was helping me as far as the homework would be my guess, and in the moment, it would be whoever was there. They were all
Correct me
very
if I'm
generous.
wrong, but Michael also directed part of the voice acting with the main voice
He did the
acting director,
singing.
right? Oh,
I think
okay, he's singing. Okay.
he might have done voice stuff too. So I don't know, but I definitely know that he did the singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that? Because first of all, doing a voice and then singing with that voice must have been taxing.
It was fun. Yeah, I'm evil.
Classic,
I
by the way.
I just like loved it. I don't know. I think I was having too much fun to be like intimidated by it. I just really
Oh,
enjoyed it.
what I really mean is about the vocals.
Oh yeah. So honestly, I have my BFA in drama, and I took voice class. And when I say voice class, I'm not saying singing class. I'm saying like like breathing from your diaphragm
Yeah.
and speaking in a way that isn't like hard on your. Now, if my voice teacher were to hear my humming, like maybe she'd be like, Adam, I don't know, maybe you're hurting your, So I can't recall if I was actually doing damage, but I was cognizant to not, and it's so, but the tough thing is for me, and I got in trouble in school with this, the gravel. So like, like that thing, that's not like good. You're not supposed to do that like 8 times a week. But I was like, but how about just for one song? So I probably did what I wasn't supposed to do, but I was pretty good about being on my breath and doing the things that I was taught. And so I don't recall being like, like, woof, this is too much. I don't think so.
Yeah. Um, did they show you any concepts of the characters' animation before you recorded, or was that all after recording?
Yeah, no, that was a huge part of like what really cemented the voice for me. Yeah, they showed it to me before, and that's when I really went like, oh, okay, I feel good about where I'm at with this voice. This feels good. This feels like this guy.
Um, that voice is nothing like from us talking right now is nothing alike, for sure. Um, is there a aspect of you that when you put on that voice, it makes it easier for you to act into the scene, as opposed if you were just talking regularly and you have to kind of convince yourself to be part of that scene? Is
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I want to answer it this way. So, like with accent work, if I was to do like an Irish accent or sometimes there was a habit I could get in where I sort of play an idea of a character. So the accent, or in this case, Haman's voice, can get me into the scene, but it's a broad brushstroke.
yeah,
If I want to be like specific and really doing like what I think of as like the good actor homework and what I'm supposed to be doing, I can't rely on the voice to do color all of the blanks for me. So
right.
yes, it like helps me get in, and then I also though need to be doing what I'm supposed to do and get that specificity that I would have if the character just sounded like I do.
Because I can imagine with the Hummer voice, you could really get carried away with sometimes.
Yes, and like I certainly did. Like, there's no way. Like, there's certainly takes where like I was just like wiling out. Like, absolutely. But that's part of the thing. Is like I trust you guys. You're gonna edit it however you're gonna edit it. Like, if I can do one take where I'm doing something extreme, like great. Like, why not? And so there's a huge amount of freedom there.
Is there something after not necessarily doing Miguel Sester, but doing voice acting that you kind of learned that you learned about the arts that you kind of took into theater from then on?
Hmm.
Unless not.
No, I mean, I'm sure. Look, I mean, we learn from everything we do. I mean, I think maybe just to be more present of and intentional about what each character sounds like, not taking it for granted, to experience something where all you have is the voice and then go back to being, full bodied. I think there's an added level of intentionality behind the voice. I feel like that I took with me, I would say. Yeah.
Because especially you have to put it, because voice acting, you have to put everything into the voice itself. Whatever happens outside the voice, whether your posture, your expression, your hand movements, it's all in the act, but it's not as the priority. So you really have to focus on the voice. I can see why.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Was there anything that sticks out to you from all the lines or all the bits of Haman that sticks out to you?
I mean, I forget. I mean, honestly, the Hummin line. Really, I mean, I already told that story, but that was like a trip. I think, but there was also these extra things like snippet,
Oh
like
yeah,
like that. Yeah, that stood out. I was like, what? I love like rapping in the song, like from Hagag to Shahul, like whatever,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
my Amalekite blood is like, so that was like a lot of fun that stood out. And then I think I really enjoyed like stretching out the words. So like I think there's a line something like, "Are you going to the slumber party?" or whatever. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I don't know what the line is, but like having like but like that was I just had a blast doing that and just being kind of like creepy and weird and funny. Yeah.
So what was the discussions like of how much you could go very subtle and slow, like dragging out a word, versus getting to the point of the line or of the word? Like what
Yeah,
was
first
that
it's
like?
like, okay, dude, speed it up. This is
Yeah.
taking a long. I mean, I was always taught like it's easier to pull back. So if I'm way too extreme, then to so if I say like, "Hello, what are you doing today?" They're like, "Okay, dude, speed it up." It's easier to speed it up than to slow it down in some instances.
Right,
So
right.
I would just sort of throw stuff at the wall, and trust the team to sort of give me those notes. Because yeah, when you're in the booth, it's like I don't have a sense of the pacing maybe as much as I would in a traditional like rehearsal.
Because you're
Uh,
in the mode. You're in the moment.
yeah, yeah.
Was it difficult at all to go in and out of the character or not really?
No, no. I think because we also were just having so much fun,
Yeah,
and I'm
but
sure.
also like when you see the interviews and the behind the scenes, you see like when you're talking to the camera, you're like so calm, whatever, and when you're doing Haman, there's like a vein popping on your neck.
I
You know what I
know.
mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's like part of the fun. Honestly, is to
yeah.
go from 0 to 100, and but it does help to be around. There was just a lot of love in that room and support, and so it felt safe to take those big risks and just jump off the cliff versus sort of keeping it going. And I don't want to turn into Adam because I might lose it or something. It's like no, I felt really confident, and the team was a big part of that.
Um, was there because in theater you're very used to having a scene partner. When you're doing voice acting, especially with a small production like Megillas Lester, there's one mic. You know, like one person is doing it at a time. You're not doing necessarily the only feeding off is with maybe the director or maybe they're feeding off the actor if they're there, but not all the time. Was that difficult for you to not have a scene
I mean,
partner in that way?
I mean, you're definitely right, but I do feel like I feel like there was multiple mics. I get the sense that I was, but again, my memory's bad. I remember kind of working with Michael. Um, no, I mean to answer your question, if you're not responding to a person, it's hard. I mean, it's harder, absolutely. But however they did it, whether there was multiple mics, of course, Michael Bahosky would remember because he's a very good memory, or if I had just one mic, but like off stage or off mic, I felt like I was getting some push pull. Like it felt like I was in the moment and doing a scene, and it wasn't just me doing a monologue. So however they did it, I did not feel that obstacle was not very present for me. Um,
Which is great to hear because a lot of people would have been very jarring for them. Like if let's say in a theater you're going like two people are being very sad, I'm like I feel for you. Yes, I feel for you too. And then you're in the booth and you're like I feel for you. I feel for you too. Right? Like
yeah, it
there's a
definitely
lot
wasn't
of
that. I forget sort of how they did it, but no, they did a great job of making me feel like I was in the movie. Yeah.
um how far after or like I'm sure with the animated film it was a long time until it came out. So because a lot of times when I spoke to the actors of Miguel Lester, they told me that it was a blast when it came out. The press tour, not the press tour, but the tour of showing the screenings, the
Yeah.
interactions. Tell me a little about that.
Oh, it was so great. Yeah. I mean, Lincoln Center, and we're singing it live and watching it from an audience. It was such a fun experience. And also, like, as I've alluded to, like, we were all like friends, like nothing but love, and so it was just hanging out with people that you care deeply for. Some people I've known for years, like Michael, and some I just met, but I really got along well with and enjoyed their. And so it was just a blast. And we're at Lincoln Center. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, you kidding me? It was like a dream come true.
Um, you said how the one thing you love about the project that you take on is the community, and Miguel Lester is a
Yeah,
very big aspect of that.
yeah. No, it was a great team, and getting to know everyone involved, and some people you spend more time with than others, depending on sort of what scenes you're doing and this and that. Um, but and I keep going back to Michael just because he's one of my closest friends. Like
Right? Yeah.
to be like the antagonist to his protagonist was like such a cool experience. One I'll never forget.
Um, after watching the film, is there like because an animation, there's a lot of like the aspect of the product is not done till it comes out, as opposed to when you're in theater or even film, you act, but you can see the monitor right after of you acting. But when you voice act, that's not that that's not the
Right.
animation together with it or anything. It was there like a part of you that was like, we'll see what happens, and then you're watching it, you're like, oh, okay, we got something.
I mean, I loved how Haman looked, and so I felt pretty good about it. Like I was like, I don't know, I trust that it's going to look good. And the trailer came out. I don't know. I don't. Again, my memory is terrible, but a while later, but like way earlier than the movie. I felt like so that helped. And I was like, oh, this trailer looks awesome. And so then for the movie, it was just excitement because I already saw the trailer and saw how beautiful it looked.
If there is a Megillas Lester 2, what would you think? What would you think? Like, well, Haman is dead, but the counterpart in Lester's reality, um, if they ever did a second one and they brought that character back, you definitely probably would come back, right?
I would absolutely, yeah.
So
I
then
think it could be.
my question is
Go
then
ahead.
would the voice be the same or would it be different? What would you do with the voice that would be similar, different, better, you know what I mean? Like what would you do
So
tackling
if
that
there
part?
was a second movie, but my character's dead, I
Well,
guess I would.
you also have the character that was in Lester's
Oh, and the
real
teacher.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh no, yeah. Well, I would want to. I think it would. I don't know. My gut says to sort of do something similar, but evolve it a bit and
Yeah.
make it my own. As far as it's been like 15 years, like let's see what Adam at this age and stage of life wants to do with it. And then, of course, the answer is whatever I'm told to do, I'll gladly
Yeah.
do. But my gut would be something similar, but sort of not be bound to replicate exactly what I did. Give myself the same freedom I gave myself then, and maybe it will sound the same, and maybe it will sound sort of different. That would be sort of my desire.
So it's known that the actors in Megillas Lester also played a lot of side characters and other maybe supporting characters. What voices did you do any voices besides for Haman? If you did, which ones were they?
I don't recall. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think there was like random like drunk scene, like when there's like guys like screaming, like the party scene stuff. Like I think there were like random things that I would shout, but it was less of like a character is my memory.
More
Um,
as background vocals.
yeah, that I think it was mainly more background vocals. Gosh, I hope I'm not totally wrong. It's like actually, Adam, you played. Like
Right, yeah.
hopefully, my memory isn't that bad. But no, I mean, what stands out to me is the waiter added stuff, the snippet and clip it barbershop stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Which by the
But
way, I was so sad that they only kept like a snippet, lack of a better word, or pun intended, of that commercial but they did release the whole thing on the internet, but like I felt like it would have been really funny if you sat down and watched the whole commercial and then it goes back. Oh wait, we're back to the story, you know?
yeah, yeah, right. It's not really in the movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was a trip. That was hard. That was yeah. That was probably the hardest part of
That was
the
harder
whole.
than I Am Evil.
I mean, it's like it's like what? Like how do I like what? Yeah, that was hard. Yeah, I would say. Because I'm evil was just it was like easy on my voice. Like it was like it's in my range. Like the other one was like speaking a mile a minute, and I'm like learning like because I had to know what am I saying? What was it? They're like no, because he's a barber, but he's not a barber, but it's a joke that he's a barber. I'm like what? Like I don't like. I thought he wore a hat and he was mean. Like that was sort of my understanding, but I didn't know
Yeah.
about this. So I had a lot to learn. But yeah, I would say that was harder probably. Or equal.
What do you have like do you have like a favorite moment behind the scenes, a story or something on working on the process that sticks out to you?
Honestly, I sound like a broken record, but it really was fun. Like just our dynamic, just a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
Like Michael, Andrew, and I'm blanking on some of the names, but like all those guys, everyone was so. We all had a very similar sense of humor, and it was just a blast. And like it was in their home. I do remember like baked goods. I don't think I'm making this up. So it just like felt like I was a part of the family and I
Yeah.
was with my friends, like having fun. And it was going to be a movie that premiered at Lincoln Center. Like, so it's sort
Yeah.
of like, what? Like, all of those things in one was pretty magical.
Do you have any fan fan interactions that sticked out to you?
Yeah, it's funny because like no one, I don't get like stopped, like no one is like animated. I will say that like I have some, you know, I've run into circles of people who are more from than I, and like I'll probably ask like, "Hey, you guys see me?" And they're like, "Wait, you were a Hobbit?" Or like I see the DVD and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
So I typically have to like offer it, like no one's like,
Right.
"Wait a second, you look like Haman, like you look like," um, and yeah, people are like, "Oh, could you do the voice? Could you do the voice?" Like, absolutely, that happens um, a lot. Yeah.
So here's the big question I want to ask you. It's probably going to be very hard to talk about because you seem like a person that really wants to dive into the character and find something true about the character that you could delve into. So when you're playing Haman,
Mm.
what's like something that stuck out to you to go like maybe that is sympathetic to Haman in your part, or maybe something that like something relatable to the character? Because that's a
Yeah,
very
I
tough one
think
to think about.
no, I think and gosh, I haven't like refreshed my hum on memory, but like he wants what he wants and he has something getting in his way. Now, for him, it was like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like the Jewish people, right? I mean, like they were sort of in the way. But to him, they're not the Jewish people. They're like what for me would be like, I don't know, like I'm making an analogy here. I have to replace it. So
Right.
I'm not thinking of them as people, and neither is he. So I think of, well, what's something that Adam wants, and what's something that's kind of stopping me from getting that? Okay, well, I'm going to replace Jewish people with this thing that's real for me, that's an obstacle, and stick with that. And so I have a want and I have an obstacle. Adam can relate to that. So that's really what I did because I didn't want to do the part like, oh, I'm this terrible person, because it's like that's not real. I don't think he
Yeah.
thinks that.
I think that's interesting to think about. Like that. Like at the end of the day, he was a man that wanted to get to an objective. Whether how crazy, maniacal, genocidal objective that is, but at the end of the day, he want it done. And so for you, you have to get in. That's a really interesting thing to pick up.
Yeah, and it's not the first time I played a part like that. Like even in high school, I went to a Jewish. It was then Akiba Hebrew Academy, now Jack Barrack, and we did Judgment in Nuremberg, and I was a Nazi, and so like I was like 16. It was high school. But like even then, I had to go. Okay, like how do I? And I played this. I did this tour of this show where I played someone who like a was like in charge of the slaves, sort of, what I forget the foreman. I don't know what the term is, but I'm dealing with Harriet Tubman, and I'm
Yeah.
not on her side, So it's not the first time where I've played someone that I find their morals to be repulsive. Um, and so I was sort of accustomed to, okay, thinking about it as wants and obstacles, and nothing more,
So you really have to like dive into like what their excuse was, like whether it was like their trials that like in their testimonies or in their interrogations after the war. You kind of really have to delve into like what they were saying and see if there's something you could pick up.
Yeah, and again, like I have to go macro, like I have to really go big picture, because if I go to
Right.
the
Yeah.
nitty gritty, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, this makes sense because if you
Right. But
read
you
page
need
seven,
some hook though, right? You kind of need a hook.
yeah, for me the hook is more big picture, objective, and obstacle, and what does it mean if I don't get that objective, which
Right.
which then fires up for me the disdain for the obstacle.
Right.
Well, if I'm a bad, leader, and therefore a bad, person, or a bad father or husband because I'm not providing because of this obstacle, I'm gonna have some animosity towards that obstacle. And it's disturbing to think about it, but that's sort of the job.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um, is there a because when I spoke to Andrew and Michael and other people that were on the project, one thing they stood out is that they kind of had this like they felt at home because it was like a project that was that magnitude and that scale. But at the end of the day, it was like a Jewish, very wholesome project. I just want to
Yeah.
know how was that for you?
I felt the same way, and that's sort of what I'm talking about with like eating the Hamantashen. Like it felt like I was in my family's house. It felt like, yeah, there was love like there and acceptance and like you're one of us kind of thing, and there was that casual sense of camaraderie while also we're doing something that's really important that tons of people are gonna experience.
And it's
Um,
also crazy because TJ said in an interview how he wasn't necessarily looking for Jewish actors. He was just trying to find the best people for the job. And it's crazy how it ended up being that everyone that at least voice acted in the project were Jewish.
Yeah, yeah. No, and it's neat. Like, how often is that
Yeah.
you're among? For me, I come from a Jewish high school, and then after college and doing more secular stuff, it was like a nice like homecoming. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and of all things, you're doing the story of Purim, which is like meant to be like the craziest holiday, and you're like, oh
Right.
wait, there's a really cool, detailed story. Like and also there's a lot of people that because there was a lot of research put into the project, to the point
Sure.
where the Easter eggs actually lead to a whole book of things that you could look up later and go like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that information about the story of Purim, and like for
Yeah.
everybody, it was a like of really like a Wikipedia of sorts to dive
Uh
into.
huh. Sure. Sure.
Is there something in this Purim story that surprised you that you didn't know about?
Um. Look, yes. I mean, everything I say,
Yeah.
and I didn't know.
But something that like stuck out to you to go like, oh wow, that's really interesting that it happened.
Yeah. I, gosh, I know the answer is yes. Nothing is jumping out of me just because I haven't seen it in a while, and my memory is terrible. But um, nothing is jumping out of me. But I know that the answer is yes.
Actually,
I,
you know what's something interesting that I figured out? I was reading a book about someone that wrote. He took like there's this book series. He takes stories of from the Torah and like from biblical things, and he makes a novelization version of it. So like you could read like a novel. So he did
huh?
one with the story of Purim, and ends up being like the story of Purim took place over like from the feast till the Jews seeing being saved over the span of like a decade, almost a decade.
No way.
Yeah, and I was shocked when I read it because I know like even for me like really it's like a span of a decade because it's not written in the Megillah. It's some research that you have to put into to figure out the timeline, and it's
Dang.
like over 5, 6, 7 years that this whole
No
story happens.
way.
Yeah,
Can that be the thing that I didn't know? Because that is like a
maybe.
really interesting nugget. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Um,
Interesting.
so I'm saying like so that's just me knowing growing up with the story, and I could just imagine like for you where you're really like not knowing as much, really diving into like oh my gosh all these details.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I will say, like, I was pretty familiar with the story, like but nothing right. The details evaded me. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Also like seeing it in animation, especially behind the scenes when you see the research and the way they're modeling off of research and archaeological descriptions and scriptures, like
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I think like maybe how grand everything was. I think I
yeah.
had this like I don't think that was internalized for me until I saw the film. I was like, wow, okay, this is very opulent. Um, the debauchery I certainly knew about, but not that level of opulence. I think that stood out. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we haven't spoke a little bit about CJ Kramer. What you could tell me? I've interviewed him. He's great, but I'm saying from your because it's because my main question is because the way you're saying how you're coming from theater and you're tackling for the first time voice acting. Was it very interesting to tackle it with the director? Because it's very different director entirely because it's a whole different format of art.
He was so great and just gave me the freedom to do what I wanted. And he was on board. I mean, which is why, I mean, often, like when I think Ili Kazan said that like 80 or 90% of directing is casting. So like I did my
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
And he
that's
was like,
true.
okay, do that thing. So, and his presence is just so like warm and inviting and not like this like broody intimidating. Like it was just, it helped facilitate that sense of play, which is so apparent, I think, in the film. It was such an honor and a joy working with him. Absolutely.
So when you do approach directing in the aspect of theater, is there like that thing of like the casting is 90%, or is it very different than that?
No, it's like, I mean, my understanding, it's like, yeah, you got cast, you do the thing. The director isn't gonna like teach you how to do the part. It's like really just like blocking, because rehearsals are expensive, and um, no one's making money off the rehearsal except for like the actors. Like
Right.
the producers are losing money, so they don't have time for that. So it's like, yeah, you do your work. That's why we cast you, and continue to do your work, and just stand here when you say that line, sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. All right. Adam, it was great talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on the
Yeah, this was such an
podcast.
honor. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yes. And as usual, I like to tell all my guests, thank you for being part of my childhood and being part of mediums such as Megillas, for example, Megillas Lester, and me growing up with these things and the inspiration that got into me with filmmaking. Obviously,
Oh,
not in the aspect of Megillas Lester, but hopefully one day I will. But the inspiration, the push, and drive to do it, and doing the research, like doing the podcast and talking with the people that have been in the industry, it was a real pleasure, and I want to thank you for doing that.
well, good for you. No, this has been such an honor, and that's really sweet of you to say. And I'm excited to see what comes next for you.
Yeah.
Uh, well, thank you
Yes.
so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, take care.
That is evil.